commentator Oscar Reddrop's in the studio beside us now, and there is a political sensitivity about this. And what do you make of it?
I think you asked some really interesting questions, particularly on the prioritisation. It's been a long old time now. Other missing cases. How do we prioritise that? Despite obviously, Madeleine McCann being one of the most high-profile mysteries of my lifetime, for sure. I think I think you're right to point out, though, that if there is even the remotest of chances that, because sometimes an individual case can symbolise and mean something more in the public consciousness than in isolation. And I think this is such a case. It's something that I think people still deeply care about. So if there's any remote chance, I think they've got to go for it.
Well, let's hope something is found. These searches, as we know, are going to continue until Friday, unless, of course, fresh evidence is found, in which case they will continue.
I take it all sort of quite personally, because we holidayed in the area. I had children the same age at the time, and there used to be posters in the airport, asking, have you seen this girl, and whatever. And my kids were very aware of it, and you'd point out and talk about it and whatever. So I often think it could have been as easy one of my children involved in all of this, and you do take it personally. And
I think a lot of people in the country would feel that way. It's in the nation's psyche, isn't it, Madeleine McCann?
Yeah.
We all know her, we know her face, we feel as though we know her as a little girl. I think everybody would like to have answers as to what happened to her.
Yeah. Right, OK, so the Portuguese police are saying about this, the search warrant was issued by the Public Prosecutor's Office in Germany, which is conducting preliminary proceedings against a German citizen suspected of the murder of a British citizen, Madeleine McCann, who disappeared from a holiday resort. What are we reading all this for? This is all a bit too long and whatever, but anyway, there's what the German prosecutors are saying about all of this.
And it also goes on to say that all of the evidence seized by the Public Prosecutor's Office will be handed over to the agents of the German Federal Criminal Police Service. There you go.
Right, let's talk about all this business again with Oscar yesterday about the investment in the defence budget, and what do you make of what Britain is spending? Where are they getting the money from, and what sort of deterrent is being offered?
Well, look, I think yesterday, not to be too cynical or depressing about it this morning, was a really good example of Westminster Fantasy Land kind of chasing its own tail rubbish, in the sense that, a lot of the aims of the strategic review are absolutely bang on. No one has any idea yet, and there was no substance given as to how we will pay for this.
Yeah.
And so if you are identifying that the main threat, quite rightly, we have war on our continent, Vladimir Putin sat across in Russia looking at yesterday, he's sitting back in his chair and laughing, because we are not a serious country, because we are not prepared, and we did not muscle up and prove and show how we will spend this. It is an ambition.
Very well said, Oscar, because this is all talk, all posturing, whatever, but all this business that we've no money. I would love a job in government. I knew I could walk in and say, scrap that, we're not interested in that, and this is the money we're going to use to pay for this. The money is there. They just are politically committed to spending it in other areas.
Yeah, and if we take it into real domestic terms here, there's the 2-child benefit cap.
Yeah.
We feel that there's going to be potentially a change of tact on, and also potentially the winter fuel allowance U-turn. So with one hand, we're saying, we as a government, it is trying to be all things to all people. And it's just not realistic. And that reality clash, yesterday was, wonderful stuff in terms of understanding the priorities in terms of defence. And we have to give Starmer credit for that. He understands the seriousness of the situation. But at the same time, it was almost a waste of time.
Look at the headline in front of the Times today. Tax rises loom to put Britain on the war footing to actually pay for this. And here is the other thing that I would say. When are they going to learn that people just don't have any more money to give? They're squeezing us, the pips are coming out, whatever. But, you know, whether it's our water bills going up, whether it's our gas bills going up, on top of everything else, where the heck is the money? And it's hitting things like we hear about the pub industry, people not spending money in restaurants and all sorts of things like that.
Yeah, it's going to be nigh on impossible, I think, to sell to the public. And it's sad that it's got to this point. And the Conservative Party have to take responsibility for 14 years as well as this, in terms of adding to that a country completely jaded, feeling that their tax money is completely getting them shortchanged. But if you're going to justify to the public the higher taxes that we would need when reality dawns to pay for the recommendation in the Defence Review, then I think a way you have to sell that to the people is to actually, and I hope this doesn't sound too arch, but you have to stop the boats. And because if thousands of people almost daily crossing the channel illegally to this country, and you can't prevent that, and you can't stop that, yet you're telling the public, I need to dip into your pockets and get more money out of you for the defence of this country. It doesn't make sense. It's like trusting a doctor to do open heart surgery when they don't even know how to apply a plaster.
But Oscar, would we ever be in a position where we have a big boat sitting, you know, at Calais and on our end, it should be Dover, and just say to these rafts coming along, right, turn round, we're going to escort you back to this area, but you ain't coming into this country. Can we actually do that?
I think that's partly, you hear some reform voices kind of floating that idea around.
I think there's issues with pushback, isn't there, in terms of maritime law?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think that would have been done by now.
Yeah, and look, so in many ways, I sympathise with the government. It's something the Tories didn't get right, as we all know. But if you are going, because they're going to have to, otherwise, if the government don't, and this is about hard choices of leadership, if the government don't tell the public and don't show the public how we're going to pay for 3% of GDP for these defensive reviews, if they don't do that, then yesterday was a waste of everybody's time. And that's not just, oh, well, that's a shame. Like, that's something that has real-term effect in terms of Russia and Putin watching on yesterday and going, that's never going to happen. 12 new submarines, they're nowhere near close to being able to afford that. And that is damaging for this country.
And also admitting on the world stage to the likes of Russia that we're not on a war footing.
Exactly. And
why aren't the migrants going to Russia?
I think we know the answer.
Yeah, I think we all know the answer to that. I think we all know the answer to that.
On that note, very interesting. Have you heard that French MP saying that that Britain, the UK, is like El Dorado, that we're a soft touch, and that's why migrants want to come to Britain? Is she right?
Well, it was only weeks ago I was sat here and we were talking about, and you guys have had the UK fishing industry on this show. And we've just, for another decade or so now, we've thrown our waters open to the French. I mean, if that's the French line from an MP, whilst we cut that fisherman deal, then we really are being laughed at.
Yeah. I mean, she blames us for the number of people that are crossing the channel at the moment, saying we're making it attractive for people.
I know it's early in the morning, but I think GB News viewers would find that absolutely abhorrent as they have their breakfast this morning to hear that.
Oscar, thanks very much indeed. A lot of subjects there, I think, to draw opinions from people. Thank you very much indeed for airing them, and we'll hear from you again after 7 o'clock. Thanks, you.
Oscar.
If you want to say something to Oscar, have your say.